Welcome to our likes and dislikes list of our latest cruise to Alaska on Quantum of the Seas, Royal Caribbean. I think it's best if we start off with our dislikes. Coming in at number 6 is the TV. Now, I know most people, including us, you don't go to Alaska to watch TV. But if you're like us, and when you first wake up in the morning, or maybe before you go to bed at night, or maybe throughout the day when you're just a little tired and wanting to relax in your room, you're going to be very, very disappointed in the selection of TV because you are either watching news on repeat or usually movies on repeat. And that's pretty much it. So, not the best selection. Coming in at number 5 are the shows. Now, a bit of an exclamation mark on this. So, we enjoyed the shows, but some of them came off a little risque. Now, this is considered to be a family cruise line. Royal Caribbean, like many of the other cruise lines, are known to kind of cater to some of the families. Some of the shows that they had were just a bit too much for especially younger kids. I was a little surprised. So, warning to some of you parents, if you have young kids, some of the shows like the Sequins and Feathers is maybe a little bit too much for young kids. Number 4, the ports. To us, it seemed like all of the ports were pretty much the same. All of the same exact types of stores, all the same tourist traps, pretty much the same at every single stop. We were really surprised there was not much more than that. Now, we are the types of people, though, that like to explore towns. We aren't doing so much excursions because we like to just get out and explore things on our own. And to us, it felt like once we did the first port, all of the rest were pretty much the same. So you quickly run out of things to do, and it was a bit disappointing. If you do go on a cruise like this, I highly, highly suggest do some excursions to break it up. Because if you don't, you're going to get burned out with the ports pretty quick. So just a warning. You might want to find something else to do. Number 3, the cost. This is known as being one of the more expensive types of cruises that you can take. I don't really know why that is. Maybe because it's coming out of the West Coast. Maybe it's the areas that it goes to, but Alaskan cruises are typically more expensive than, say, you're going to the Caribbean. All in all, now, again, we have 2 rooms, both were balconies, and we also have hotel the day before and after, and of course, flights coming from Ohio. We probably spent a good $11,000, maybe more, not even including all of the little knickknacks and different things that we also purchased. So be warned, prices can get up pretty high. Even some of the ports that you go to, like Sitka, we were very surprised on how expensive some things were. We ended up not even buying anything really in Sitka because some of the costs were just outrageous, in our opinion, for what you're actually getting. So just a little warning there. All right, number 2, the crowds. Now, from what we learned, Our ship had about 5,000 people on it, not even including the crew. So that's a lot of people. It's also a very big ship. However, when you go into certain areas, you are going to quickly find that there's not enough space for that amount of people. And you can get surrounded very quickly. If you're like us, you try your best to avoid the crowds. We tried, but there's definitely times where you get surrounded pretty quick and there's really not a whole lot you can do, whether you're waiting for dinner or you're trying to get on an elevator. There's not a whole lot of space. We tried to avoid elevators if there was too many people, but it didn't prevent us from getting on an elevator when it's empty. And by the time you get to the top or the bottom or wherever you're going, suddenly you have 10 people on it. We found out by the end of the cruise that there were a lot of people that ended up with COVID and other things, which is really not surprising. It spreads when you have a lot of people in tight spaces like that. Now, we got lucky. We ended up not getting COVID or anything. We had some small allergy issues, which is normal this time of year, but that's pretty much it. So be warned, there are times where there's a lot of people, even at ports, because your ship is probably not going to be the only one at that port. At times, we had even 4 ships at the same port, and suddenly that one street that you're on at that port has a lot of people on it, and they're from all the different cruise lines, and it's a little overwhelming. Getting down into number 1, unsupervised kids. Now, please understand before I say anything else, I love kids. I work in education. I enjoy kids. When we took this cruise, we did not realize how many kids there would actually be on a trip like this. Typically, you're going to find kids going to places like the Caribbean, areas with beaches. You don't so much think Alaska. We found there'd be a lot more kids than we anticipated. And the problem for the unsupervised ones, if you try to get into the Seaplex and it is not a port day, good luck, because it is absolutely overwhelmed. Every single foosball table, ping pong, whatever games that are available, activities to do, it can be really hard to get into some of them because it's just so overwhelmed with all of the kids. And when I'm saying kids that are 12 and younger. So it's a little hard to get into some of those activities because of that. Now, there were certain times that it became more of a problem than others. When we tried to get into the bumper cars, it was already a very long line. And there were some very young kids that kept getting off of their bumper car and their turn was over. They would run back, cut in the line, and then just go back out and get onto another bumper car. Staff can only do so much, but those types of things definitely increased the wait and made things more difficult. But the biggest moment we had was one night in particular where it was well past midnight and we started hearing these blood-curdling screams that woke us up out of a dead sleep. We thought somebody was maybe getting murdered out in the hallway. I go running out to the hallway. I know I wasn't the only one because I started seeing heads popping out of every single door all up along the hallway. And I walked out to find there was about 6 or 7 kids, probably around the age of 10 and younger. And they were just running around, screaming their heads off, pushing all of the buttons on the elevators. I ended up having to use my teacher voice to kind of settle it. But I was very surprised it was that late and they were running around with zero supervision, and they woke up pretty much the entire hallway doing it. So if you go on a cruise like this and you think there's not going to be a lot of kids, I'm sorry, but you will be very sadly disappointed. So that is it for our dislikes. Now we're going to move into my favorite, the likes. Starting off with number 6, the weather. Now, we got really, really lucky because outside of one day where we had just a little bit of sprinkle, we had no rain. The weather actually ended up being absolutely beautiful. So much, in fact, that when you think Alaska, you think some warm clothing. You think wearing jackets and long sleeves and pants. And there were some times we were at certain ports like Sitka and Skagway, we were taking our jackets off. The weather ended up being absolutely wonderful and at times even a lot hotter than we imagined. So again, we got lucky. Normally, most people are not that lucky. So anyhow, we were lucky and we really appreciate it. So weather worked out fantastic for us. Number 5, amenities. Now, I don't really need to say a whole lot more than that, but for us, the ship was nice. Our rooms were wonderful. Everything was clean. We always found things to see and do. So for us, the ship was everything that we hoped it would be. Sometimes we wish it was a little less crowded, but it was a very nice ship. Lots of places that you can kind of go and even hide if you want to. So we enjoyed it. Amenities were fantastic. Number 4, the shows and activities. Now, I know for dislikes, I also said some of the shows. But outside of that, outside of some of the risque issues, the shows were fantastic. A lot better than our previous cruise. We really, really enjoyed some of the shows, especially the last one we went into, which was Sonic Odyssey. It was fantastic. The music, the dancing, the singing, it was right on point. We really enjoyed it. We were very much attentive the entire time. So we enjoyed it that much. I'm sure you would. Again, Sonic Odyssey was fantastic. A matter of fact, that show in particular is only done on Quantum of the Seas. You will not find it on any other because one of the instruments that they use, called the Earth Harp, is only on that cruise line or that cruise ship. They don't have it anywhere else. Matter of fact, the Earth Harp was once on America's Got Talent. I don't remember what season it was, but they did have it featured on there. There's apparently only 2 in existence, and one is on Quantum of the Seas. So we, again, really enjoyed that show, along with some of the other ones that they did that we found really nice. Star Water was really interesting. So if we enjoyed them, I'm sure that you would. All right. Going down to number 3, the food. Now, I know some people are not big fans of the Windjammer. Maybe we're just not that picky, but we always found something to eat that we really enjoyed. We definitely had our favorites, and we sought out certain things at certain meals when we were around, but we always found something in the Windjammer to eat. The specialty restaurants were also very good. We ate at Jamie's Italian. My wife and daughter went to Izumi's. We've been to Chop's Grill. We always found the food there fantastic. So zero complaints. We always found something to eat. We really enjoyed the food. Getting down to number 2, the staff. The staff were absolutely fantastic. Every single person that we met was genuinely happy. And at times, we would even ask them, do you like your job? If you ask somebody typically, you can tell. You can tell on how they respond. Some of them might say, oh, yeah, I really like my job. No, these people, you could tell they genuinely like their job. Matter of fact, our server, we got to talking to him a lot, and he was a really, really nice guy. And we asked him that question, and he told us that many people in the cruise industry actually strive to try and get on Royal Caribbean, because apparently Royal Caribbean really treats their staff really well. And so it's a job that they all are looking for and they're happy to get. They treat them well, and the staff then treat you really well. And I couldn't say enough for the staff. They were all fantastic. They all treated us nice. They got to know our names and were constantly coming and talking to us. And we really enjoyed talking to them. So staff were fantastic. Number 1, the scenery. It's really hard to show you some of the things that we saw on a video or in a picture. But those are the types of things that you really have to see with your own eyes. Now, again, we're from Ohio, so we don't exactly have snow-capped mountains in Ohio. What we found on that trip was just beautiful. When you open up your curtains and you're seeing waterfalls, or you see little icebergs that are kind of floating by the ship, and you'll see a seal that's just resting on that little iceberg. It's not something that you see on an average day. The trip is worth it for the scenery alone. So, can't say enough about it. Scenery was just fantastic, no matter even what port that you go to, because they were all surrounded by mountains and absolutely beautiful. So that is that. Now, I'd like to say once again, thank you for following us on this adventure. If you've seen some of our videos that we posted or not, we appreciate you coming along with us. And we are looking to hopefully doing it again. So with that said, if you're looking to going on a Alaskan type of cruise, it's worth it. And I know you'll enjoy it too. See you next time.